Hey, Princess India here. I just wanted to share a quick little bit of inspo with you. So, Spirit led me to start decluttering my life. I utilized the Kamari method and I started with my closet because the whole little process starts with clothes. And I wanted to share the finished product with you guys. Literally, my closet has never looked like this, like in life. Like, I'm literally not kidding. But that also inspired me to declutter the rest of my life. And as I cleaned, I got so many spiritual epiphanies. It started a whole little purge. I cried and things, a lot of releasing going on, but I feel so much lighter. And I just wanted to inspire you guys to take that into consideration as we're going into the retrograde. It's a great time to clear out your life, get a jump start on your spring cleaning, and it's also an explanation for why you're only going to see my hands this month, because the rest of my house is a total mess. I love you. On to your March reading. Energy. Hello, Aquarius. Last but most certainly not least, dagnabbit son of a gun. I don't know what happened, man. I have no idea. I don't know what happened, Aquarius. Like, you guys were like killing the game and y'all done dropped all the way down to Aries spot. It's really going on in America. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and jump into your reading. If you have not cross-watched up to this point, which I doubt, I'm not going to say that. You probably didn't. Who knows? We are going to be doing a different spread, so I'm going to give you a quick little overview before I jump right into this puppy. So here, for the month of March in the Mercury retrograde, we're going to be looking at your main source of discontentment or unhappiness. So pretty much like the root of whatever issue you may be reflecting on this retrograde. Then we're going to be looking at our main challenge to overcome this month, as well as during the retrograde, because the retrograde is over on the 28th. This month is over on the 31st. Then we're going to look at 3 areas of release. We're going to look at what to release for your physical well-being, for your emotional well-being, and for your spiritual well-being, as well as how to do that and why we're doing this release, as we're looking at what it is that we are making room for, right? So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in, dive right in. So what is the main source of discontentment or unhappiness for Aquarius in the month of March? 7 of Swords. Secrets and dishonesty is the first thing that I hear. People who are not being upfront with you. People who beat around the bush. People who are doing things undercover. People who aren't being straightforward, right? People who aren't being straightforward and people who aren't being to the point. Feeling as if one needs to tiptoe or one needs to do things in secret in order to gain the upper hand or to gain an advantage, right? Now, this can be something that you're experiencing internally. So it could be feeling as if you need to show up this way, right? That you may feel like you're hiding behind something and maneuvering behind this little curtain. Or you can feel like people are doing that to you. But all in all, energetically speaking, the main source of discontent is the lack of direct excuse me, I don't know what's going on with my voice, but the lack of direct communication, right? The lack thereof of direct messages. It's things, and of course that's pretty normal for the retrograde energy, that things just seem kind of fuzzy. It's like, I want to keep saying beating around the bush, right? So what our challenge is, Judgment. Main challenge to overcome. I see this card slightly differently, but not really. More or less in the general sense of ascending to a higher state of being. And I just heard mask off. So this is more or less one of those things where I want to say that, because I like how most of these readings are fixated on the individual. So I want to really sit with that energy for a bit of really fixating this on you, right? So more or less looking at the fact of, if we said this like dodging rejection, right? So, or perceived rejection. So that means that I'm going to not really make my desires or needs clearly known. I'm going to say it inadvertently, maybe suggest it, throw a couple of hints here and there, because I don't want to be direct in my communication or direct in what it is that I'm truly asking for, because there's a fear one way or the other that it's either going to be denied or the request would be rejected. So it's more or less playing small, so to speak, right? Or, you know, hiding behind a face, so to speak. But this is now with a Judgment card, is ascending to a higher state of being, one in which you remove any weight, any bondage, any encasings or cages or mindsets or anything of the sort, anything that's restricting. It's removing that and allowing yourself to ascend to your truth, right? Allowing yourself to align to your truth, you know? And this kind of goes in alignment with what it is that the download that I was getting. It's almost, this goes back as far as almost a year and 4 months, and then to last night, and then today, and everything kind of came full circle. But that's what I was talking about. It's like ascending to a higher state of being and leaving behind all of the things that no longer serve you in a very non-intellectualized sense. You know what I mean? It's allowing. Allowing means I don't have to think to move. The same way that you don't have to think to breathe. It just comes naturally. So it's more or less removing all constraints from the mind and allowing oneself to maneuver naturally, right? Now, with what it is that you need to release for your physical well-being, we have the Ace of Wands. So whatever it is, you guys, okay, and please, I hope y'all wasn't about to start nothing new. If there's anything in a very tangible, practical sense, if there's any new projects that you're working on, not executing it, not going after it right now, just because the energy isn't really conducive for it. But I mean, of course, you know, we want to be, we want to utilize wisdom and discerning that, in the sense of, you know, if it's something that's extremely important, not being like, oh, you know, not doing it because it's Mercury retrograde on some stuff. Like, hey, do you want to move desks? No, it's Mercury retrograde. Do you want this job? No, it's Mercury retrograde. Not anything that's completely outlandish. But if you've been inspired to do anything, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a project per se. It could be. But I mean, anything that you're inspired to do, or any fire that's kind of lit within you, be sure to jot all of that down. All of the inspiration that you get, be sure to take note of that, to record that, and even plan for it, right? And take action on it once this energy has surpassed, right? Just because initiating new things during this energy isn't necessarily ideal, right? And even if that comes to a sense of being driven by desires or by passion, it's more or less needing to balance that out with a tad bit of wisdom, again, because especially if it's in the sense of like romance, we don't necessarily make the best decisions during Mercury retrograde when it comes to love relationships, because once Mercury goes direct, you know, we might get over, especially with this being in Pisces, it's like we can get overcome with emotion, feeling, passion, and desire. And once Mercury goes direct, it's kind of like, oh, you know, I didn't intend to sign on for this. So this is more or less for the protection of yourself as well as others as well, you know, kind of marinate on some things, you know. I always, I said that to somebody last night, I think it was in my mod chat, is chat, don't enact. Right? It's like, if you meet someone new, just talk to them right now. Don't jump into anything. Just allow this energy to be here. Give yourself the time to mold it out to whatever it is that you want, because we want to be cognizant of the fact that this is the Ace of Wands, and although that is a very good thing, you know, it is representative of sexual energy. Let's just be responsible, because we know that the completion of this suit ends with being overburdened. So just be cognizant of that, right? So how we will do that, there you go. Channel it into your creativity. Prepare, man. So most certainly, if this is an idea that you're getting, prepare for it. Start to put time, energy, and effort into constructing it into the most ideal thing, you know? So any inspiration that you're getting, it's all about now cultivating it. And this is a really great time to do so. It's a great reflective energy, you know what I mean? And especially if you're, you know, led to do a big reveal post Mercury retrograde, right? This gives you an opportunity to really descend into your emotions, right? So that you can ascend into your authentic self and channel that energy into whatever it is that you're working on, right? And like I said, it's general, so that could be anything, right? It could be yourself, it could be an actual project, it could be a piece of artwork, what have you, right? So moving on to what to release for your emotional well-being, we have the Hermit. How appropriate. I have been talking about you all day, Hermit. I'm seeing this more or less as exertion, right? Whenever we go in hermit mode, it's usually because we're seeking. And the thing that is so ironic, especially with Aquarius being an air sign, is the fact that Spirit is really driving home with me and you guys reading, and we're only a few cards in, is about intellectualizing, right? So it's more or less with hermit mode, you're going within to seek an inner truth. So it's going within to your inner temple, your heart space, to hear from your intuition. And this came up in someone else's reading. I can't remember what sign it was, but I felt it for them. I remember it was over here, but I felt it for them almost as if they were getting too caught up in rituals to try to, like they were using that as a means of escapism. You know what I mean? I'm not seeing it like that here. The thing that I'm seeing that needs to be released is how your intellectualism is influencing your emotional life. It's trying to intellectualize emotions. You know, the Hermit energy is an energy of allowing, you know, of being open and receptive to a spiritual truth that springs forth from within, right? From our inner sanctum, so to speak. But I more or less see this as trying to gain an inner revelation through external means. And that's what needs to be released. There's a need to step into more of the feminine energy of receptivity and not needing things to make sense in reference to our emotions, right? So it's releasing the need to compartmentalize, what is this emotion that I'm feeling, right? Why am I feeling this emotion? You know what I'm saying? Getting out of that rigid stance and just allowing things to be as they are. You know what I mean? And our how, we have our Queen of Chalices in reverse. That's my good old little counselor card, you know. Now, the whole thing is, and I'm treading lightly when I say this, because I don't know why I keep saying you have to use wisdom when I say this. This is something that I always say of, like letting yourself ugly cry, so to speak. It doesn't necessarily have to be with someone else, but it's almost allowing yourself to be your, let me watch how I say that too. I don't want to say your own counselor, but it's almost like allowing yourself to nurture yourself. It's almost like reparenting the self in a sense, right? But it's allowing oneself to be discombobulated, allowing oneself to ugly cry, allowing oneself to be an emotional mess, and that be okay. Not need a rhyme and a reason and a schematic and, you know, a purpose, beginning, middle, end, narrative, so to speak, of why it is I'm feeling with my feet, what I'm feeling. It's just the fact that I'm feeling it. So I see this a lot of times when another person talks you out of your grief, right? When you're like, oh my gosh, right? Like everything in my life sucks and I just want to die because everything is so horrible. And then someone's like, oh, don't say that. That's not true. You don't feel like that. You don't want to feel like that. You shouldn't feel like that. This isn't the end of the world. It's no big deal. That's talking a person out of their grief. Granted, it sounds extremely compassionate. It sounds like you care. But in so many words, just like I said in one of the premieres of one of my subbies were talking about them being in a therapy session and they were saying that they were crying and the therapist didn't hand them tissue. And that's like a universal law for every therapist. You never, ever hand your client tissue when they're crying. So do not think, if you have a therapist, don't think that your therapist doesn't love you, you know, because we didn't hand you a box of Kleenex. Because I got, like any of my clients could tell, I got buku of them daddies everywhere. No matter where you at in my office, there's going to be a box of Kleenex somewhere near you, right? But the reason for that is because of the subconscious message that it sends. If you're crying and I hand you tissue, that's sending a subconscious message of, this isn't appropriate. I need you to stop crying. Like, could you stop that? You know, like, just dry that up because that would be nice. But it's creating a safe space to where a person can ugly cry. And I feel like this is something that needs to be done for the self. It's almost as if what I'm sensing for Aquarius here, what needs to be released is your schematic to processing and experiencing emotions. And if there is no logical rationale behind why it is you're feeling what you're feeling, you try to diminish it and deny it, right? So that's a thing that we're going to be releasing for our highest good during this month, right? Now, moving on to what we are going to release for our spiritual well-being. Lies. The Ace of Swords in reverse. We're going to release lies. We're going to stop lying to ourselves. This goes back to what I'm saying here. It's more or less saying this in a very clear, direct way, or the easiest way for me to define it to where we won't get too existential is what came up in Scorpio's reading, which is love and fear. Defining things that way, right? So if we cut everything in life down the middle, everything that brings us down, right? Everything that says things that are negative, anything that's restricting, anything that's compartmentalized. And I told you guys before, that's our masculine energy to the extreme, right? Anything that is of a lower vibrational energy or downtrodden, lies that you tell yourself, feeling like this would be considered one of those lies, feeling like I can't show my authentic self, false core belief that I may be rejected, right? So I need to show only half of myself, only those parts of myself that are acceptable to other people. That's all that I can be. I can't fully embody myself because I may be rejected, right? Or feeling like I can't be myself and do this. I can't make money at what it is that I love, right? It's releasing the power that these lies hold over your experience and how it's limiting you in your spiritual growth, right? Especially if we're trying to compartmentalize. Because I'm thinking about the chakra oracle deck. It's like all of the cards for the crown chakra are gray. And that's because gray is the love child of black and white. It's that middle ground. It's that space in which things aren't defined and judged. It's not right and wrong, yes and no. You know what I mean? It allows a third road, if you will. The third road being that middle road. It's more fluid. It's less about defining and labels, division. So it's almost releasing that rigid structure. All things that negate that freedom, right? Should, oughts, and supposed tos, right or wrongs, right? And that more or less, if we got a little deeper with that, if we look at the Ace of Swords in the upright, this is like the spiritual truth. We could even look at this as the mind, right? Because your mind is a sword. And there's two sides, it's a double-edged sword. Because there's a light side and there's a dark side, right? But the whole thing is about, with the whole sword suit, you're going from the ace all the way up to, we could include the king of swords, right? So if we were to say that whole entire suit, or if we just stick with the 10, let's not get with the court card. So if we just stick with the 10, because there's two sides to this sword, and this is about to get extra real, because I'm about to show y'all something. Okay, let me show you something. With the suit of wands and with the suit of swords, these are both masculine energies, right? They're external focused, right? The pentacles and the cups are the feminine energies. They're receptive, right? Notice that two cards that people adore to get are the 10 of Pentacles, the 10 of Cups. Don't nobody want the 10 of Swords. Really don't nobody want the 10 of Swords. And nobody wants the 10 of Wands either. In the message that I put out before Aquarius, I talked about the extreme of masculinity, unbalanced, right? And how it becomes toxic. And that's not just specifically for men, because women are partakers in it as well. This is when something good, because I look at the ace in any suit as a seed. It's the raw, undeveloped energy. But take note of how the masculine energy When unbalanced and to its extreme, what happens? Take note of the earth energy, the pentacles, and the water energy of the cups. And when it goes to its extreme, what happens? Right? So with specifically going back to this suit, a double-edged sword has two sides, light and dark. That's your, compartmentalizing. Good, bad, purity, degradation, hedonism. That's really a thing. Hedonism. There is no middle ground. Here with this, if you're a good person and make a bad choice, you're not a bad person. In this world of extremes, there can be no such thing as good people making bad choices. Right? If you made a bad choice, you're just bad. Writing you off, compartmentalizing you, that's what you are. There's no question. We don't have time to understand the specifics. Right? It just is what it is. Because we don't have time for this. We need to move forward. We got things to do. More gaining. Gimme, 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 gimme. Mine, mine, mine. Dominate, dominate, dominate. Right? So if we look at this, with the entire sword suit upright, it is not the best thing. That's the dark side of the sword. So let's look at this as a karmic lesson. So when you get to the 10, you add 0 to 1, you're going to go back to 1. So we're here again. So that means next time around, this is a good thing. Because now I can learn about the light side of the sword. So since I saw where I failed miserably and got 10 swords in my spine, right? Now I can learn how to use this tool that I have, my mind, for good, right? So that I'm more or less being reborn instead of overkilled, right? I'm releasing burdens as opposed to taking on unnecessary burdens and being weighed down by something that was once upon a time so beautiful and passionate and igniting, right? So it's more or less releasing this dark side of the sword, which would be this upright, and now entering into a space of knowing the power that one possesses in their own spiritual space with darkness, and now using that in terms of the light. We've done self-defeating, we've done hiding, we've done, constraining, we've done that, we've mastered that. We've done self-imprisonment. I want to know something different. I want to ascend to a higher state of being, no more restrictions. Right? Our how? We have 3 of swords. This is something that's coming up for everyone. Grieving. Your spiritual well-being requires grieving, acknowledgement. I say that the first step to healing is acknowledging where I am. Until we acknowledge where we are, what we're dealing with, what we've done, taking responsibility, taking ownership, there is no healing because there's no truth. Right? That gives us the leeway to still blame everything else that's around us and never take personal responsibility. So regardless of what it is that you may be grieving over, don't even put yourself back into restrictions of saying, I should be over this. Says who? Right? But again, thinking of the power of the sword of your mind, take note of the fact that the 3 of swords in the traditional Rider-Waite is the heart with the swords in it. After tarot, it's the heart with the little bandage and the swords are down here. What do you think that says? If this is indicative of the weapon of your mind, right? It can create good. It can create proverbial, evil, right? It can create light or dark, love or pain, What do you think your mind is doing to your heart? The swords are in the heart, which 3 is a creation energy, a number of expansion. What energy could possibly be being expanded with swords in the heart? My thoughts are causing my heart pain. My mind is putting my heart in submission to it. Right? My mind is attacking my heart. So it's allowing yourself to release whatever this is. It's allowing yourself to take responsibility and grieve whatever it is that needs to be grieved. Right? So that you can rest. Decide on what you want to do going forward. Or even taking personal responsibility for the ways that you may have violated yourself, how we've held ourselves back. Right? Now, what we're making room for, we have the Five of Pentacles. I like how this is in this deck, because in this deck, it talks about not necessarily being left out in the cold, even though she's in the cold. But it's like she's in the cold of her own volition because she isn't listening to her intuition. Right? Intellect says, I need to find my direction. Where is north and south? I need to follow this trail. And what did I see on the Discovery Channel that time? But you see the little gnomes right there? They're legit telling her, go that way. Go that way. Hey, go. Hey, excuse me. Aquarius, go that way. Aquarius, make it right. Hello. She's not listening. Hello, go to the right. I don't know where I should go. What was that thing I watched on Discovery Channel? Didn't they say, intellectualizing things that are not to be intellectualized? You're making room for the space of your spirit self, your intuition, to take residence within the inner self, within your life, the seat of your soul, if you will, which is also a really great book to read, and I would suggest that you read it. Right? But it's listening to your intuition because your gut knows the answer. And it's in the stillness and in the quiet, devoid of your thoughts ruining everything, that you can hear your intuition speak. Right? But your mind, oh wow, and that reminds me, I have that, I might have to post it on YouTube. I have that link on my Instagram. It's a conversation between a mentee and their guru. And they ask the guru, why is the mind always running like crazy when the heart wants to say something? And he goes on to speak about, I have the whole thing written on Instagram, and the picture is a video of me painting. But the guru goes on to say, I'm going to give a quick little synopsis, that the mind is afraid of being usurped by the heart. The heart is a gentleman. The heart is not going to push its will upon anyone. So it's only going to take its rightful place when it's invited. When the mind realizes, oh, I really don't run this. Let me step out of the way. Right? And then the heart will take its rightful place. But until then, it's not going to be pushy. It's just going to let you do you. So it's more or less balancing. And like I say, this whole resurgence thing is not about diminishing, like smash the patriarchy. Like that's not what it's about at all. It's just simply about balance. You know what I mean? It's balancing things out. Evening the playing field to where it's not one above the other. It's equaling things out. So what this is not saying that you're going to diminish any ability to think or to act, but it's checking in with what's most important first, and that's your heart space, and not just saying the organ that is in your chest that pumps your blood everywhere, meaning that symbolically as your subconscious, i.e. the high priestess, right? That part of you that's all knowing, all seeing, all being, that's connected to the all that connects all of us, the collective subconscious, the place where the soul resides. You know what I'm saying? What's behind the veil and what's not, or whatever. In your how, we have the Page of Swords. So it's more or less, disappointment. All right. Frustration is birthed in a lack thereof of answers. So if we think about me trying to intellectualize my emotions, right? Emotions can't be intellectualized. So I will think myself into a prison because I'm trying to figure it out and I just can't. I.e. our lost gal here, right? The whole key is here is needing to release this idea. And I have to tread lightly on how I say this because I don't want to ever imply that a human being does not possess themselves, right? But it's more or less the thought of, like, how I'm seeing is like the highest mind, thinking that the highest mind that exists is the one that's in your head, because it's not. So it's relinquishing this ideal. And I'm treading lightly when I say this, so I'm just hoping and praying that those that are listening to me are listening to what it is that your inner man is saying as I'm saying this. Right? But it's not putting all of your trust or all of the pressure on oneself to know it all, to have it all figured out. Right? Because there's a mind that's higher than your mind. Your mind is a micro mind that is based on a mega mind, if you will. Right? So there's a need sometimes to step out of the micro mind and to step back into the mega mind that knows everything there is to possibly know. But it's a need to get out of one's own way. There's a need to accept that I don't have all of the answers, or the organ in my head does not have all of the answers. And maybe sometimes I need to step outside of myself and to attune with an energy that is a greater representation of my micro representation to get the intel that I need. A higher force, a higher knowing, greater than me, right? Because our highest heights aren't as high as we think. And this can even be looked at in the sense of a person who weighs too heavily on intellectualism, right? Who needs facts, figures, I need proof. You know, that again, it's limiting. So how one frees oneself up from the bondage this has caused is simply relinquishing control, but that's of course not so simple. It's more or less allowing oneself to believe in the unbelievable. That's why there's a baby on the sun card, because it's about being reborn into childlike wonder. When you believed anything was possible, you believed in miracles, you believed in fairy tales, you believed in Santa Claus, right? But you having mastered one side of life, you have wisdom. You know not to sheepishly believe anything that you're told, right? But it's finding that balance between blindly following and over intellectualizing, overvaluing facts and figures too much. It's a balance between the two of those things, right? This is where I use my the name of my blog. Like for Aquarius, it's the birth of the intuitive intellectual. That's what I consider myself, an intuitive intellectual. My intuition takes precedence over my intellect. And that's because my intellect is merely a tool. It's a vehicle for my intuition. Right? And that's what it should be. That's how it should be. The mind should be in service to the heart. Because the mind doesn't know anything. It's reliant on everything besides itself to gain its information. In essence, it's just a big old external hard drive. But it gotta ask everybody else, all right, what's going on? Eyes, what you see. Ears, what you hear. Because you know it's dark in here and I can't see or hear anything. But I want to tell everybody what to do. Being led by the blind, believe it or not. That's what happens when we let our mind rule our heart, unbalanced. But the key is balance, because you don't want to just be ran by your heart without utilizing the mind as a tool, right? So the whole theme here is balance. And this is a message that reflects through a myriad of different things. You can take this as mundane as you want or as esoteric as you want. So the first card we have is Polar Bear. Holy mother. Wait. This one turned over and I saw it. Oh, somebody had that card. All right. We have Polar Bear, and it says, stand up for yourself and speak your truth respectfully and compassionately with no attachment to outcome. How dope is that? That's this right here, man. Just be yourself. Live your truth for truth's sake. Who cares if anybody likes it or not? What did Dr. Seuss say? Those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter. Oh, birthing a new age, birthing new creations, dreaming a new world into being. Oh my goodness, are we entering the age of Aquarius or not? Are you going to be the bearer of the water, that of which is the Pisces Aquarius? I don't know. I'm being extra. Whatever you think. This says, I want for you what you want for you. Nothing more, nothing less. I don't sit here and make a judgment, request by request, whether something should be granted to you. My law is the law of cause and effect, not the law of will see. If that's not real, I don't know what is. Said that in Scorpio's reading. Everything has already been set into motion from the moment of the Big Bang Theory or the creation story, whatever it is that you believe in. You know? There is no need for this thought of, I feel like, God's not listening, God hates me, whatever. Because the fact of the matter is, every single thing we experience is just a byproduct of our actions. There is no, guy in the sky with a beard that's holding the world in his hand with his little staff. And he's like, let me just screw up that one's life right there. Like, just because. Let me take away a loved one. Let me make your husband leave you. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that genocide going on over there? Let me just turn my head and ignore that just because I'm a jerk and it's what I do. I don't feel like I have better things to do. It's not how it works. Everything here is a continuous motion of action and reaction. And the most scary feeling that I had, and this was probably a year ago, is I thought that, wow, we are still, like everyone alive today is living and experiencing the consequences of choices that our ancestors made, that our great granny made. We're living the byproduct of those choices. Whether we like it or not, and that's like kind of butterfly effect type of stuff, every single thing that each and every one of us do every day, every thought we think, every action we take and don't take, all of that affects another person more than we're aware of, right? And it's almost allowing yourself to sit in the vastness of that, of knowing that everything is a chain reaction. Everything is simply cause and effect. It's not that serious. It's not that complicated, And I think that's the beautiful thing about this journey and what it shows you. We think things are so complex and, all of this extra stuff. Dog, it's just cause and effect, simply. Right? And this is, there is nothing scary about life. if you are not attached to results. Release the outcome. Stop needing everything to make sense. I need to make sure this is going to line up like this for this reason, whatnot, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I hope that made sense, Aquarius. And I hope you guys are higher up on the food chain next time. But that has been your reading. I love your freaking face, and I will see you guys sooner than later. Deuces.
Energy, about to get in and fuck up the industry.